Three, two, one. What's up, y'all? Say Krack After Hours. And listen, activism comes in all sizes, shapes, and forms. And this young lady has had boots on the ground for a long time. One time for Queen Yonasda Lonewolf.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Krack.
Yeah, you have an amazing
I said Krack.
You know, because you know me like that. You know, it is what it is. So, man, like, there's so much to get to, so little time. Copwatch America.
Yes.
Which is a new show that debuted on BET in October. Anybody who knows, like I know, knows that, like, you know, the police interactions with everybody has been at an all-time just bad level.
Yeah.
And this show is about, like, teaching people, I guess, creative ways where you can police the police within the confines of the law.
And how to force accountability. We have the power, the people power.
Indeed.
So it's the cop watchers in New York. There's a crew that are actually cop watching. They actually go out and they cop watch. Here in Atlanta, it's those of us that, like, after it goes viral or when we get those calls on what do we do after the abuse or after something happens. And so I've been doing this since I was like 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was that the name for it even back then?
No, it was basically get your camera out. I mean, when we saw Rodney King, you know, that was the first cop watcher that we actually saw. It, you know, it was on the news and everything with Rodney King. And for me, I was like, man, thank God that they're being filmed. Was that how you felt when you saw Rodney King?
I mean, I felt like, okay, cool, we got these guys dead to rights because it's on tape.
Yeah.
But then that's not the results that we got at the end of the day. And even with a lot of these other, like, police killings that we've seen, oh, the evidence is right there.
Yeah.
We're going to get justice this time. And it seems like time and time again we get proven wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems like cops have way more authoritative ability in the judicial system than we as civilians do, who are actually paying for this level of disservice.
Yeah, and that's the reason why it's so important for us to know your rights and know exactly political. We have to understand the political structure of things. We are voting in these judges.
Yeah.
Every time we go, when we're telling people to go out and vote, you know who these judges are, and then on top of it, the police unions are really taking over, you know, the political structure locally, you know. But here in Atlanta, Georgia, there was Anthony Hill, who was murdered he was a veteran, murdered in 2014. And just recently, we was able to really push the people power. You know, we had press conferences, we shut down a Democratic gala, you know, so we've done our thing. And that officer was just sentenced to 10 years in prison. And that's just last week.
That still seems like that's a little light.
It is
for
light.
A sentence.
It is light. And the thing is that that's the reason why we have to keep our foot on their necks, you know, with the cameras, with us mobilizing, coming together, voting, you know. But it's a hard thing, you know. In the words of Nipsey Hussle, it's not a race, it's a marathon for justice, you know.
Indeed. Now, I've seen some videos where people have tried to videotape police officers, and officers like, get that camera out of my face. You can't record me.
Oh, you can record.
But there's been, like, false narratives placed out there that it is illegal to record the police now.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, what is the safe distance that you can be and record a cop to where, like, no one can accuse you of tampering with
obstruction of peace or something like obstruction or so you can be at a safe distance. Try to go around. You know, they do like to block off your visibility with the camera, but you have every single right to film the police. And just know your rights. So they cannot touch you. They can't take your camera away from you. That's illegal. I've been getting so many, since this show has aired, people have been saying, like, the police have taken my camera, or, you know, police have did this. What do I do? They have a supervisor. Report their mishandling, their abuse of power to their supervisor, and then continue to go up from there.
Gotcha.
You know, my little son right here.
Now, some cities aren't as structured as others. You have some situations where you'll complain to a higher up or a power it be, and they're in on it too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's almost gang mentality.
Yes, it is.
You know, they protect their own.
Yes, they
do. In a lot of situations. So far as like I guess legal civil action that you can do, far as like lawyering up. I see you got a homie, attorney Gerald Griggs.
Yeah, he's on the show, The Justice Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you know, like say like if you don't live in Atlanta, where's like a website or a hotline that you can call if you felt like you've been done wrong?
The National Lawyers Guild. There's Black Lawyers for Justice. You know, we need more fearless Black attorneys or more fearless attorneys, but try to at least have there has to be someone that you could be able to lean on for legal advice, which is an attorney. I always make sure that I have an attorney in almost every single city.
Really?
Just so I could be on call. That's just because I'm everywhere. I'm nationally everywhere. People call me all the time, all across this nation, and I don't get paid for this.
Yeah.
You know, I was born into the movement, you know, and I was born into like at 14, 15 years old is when these officers abused their power on me and my friends, just because back, you know, it was the 90s. We had baggy clothes and, you know, and they looked at that as gang. They thought we
And
was
this happened in Atlanta?
This happened in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
I grew up in Arizona under KKK skinheads. Like I went to school with skinheads. I started a riot at my high school.
Really?
Yeah, because of skinheads that call me a nigger. And so I've been always standing up against injustices.
What was the end game on
those officers? I got them fired.
And even go back to the school situation. Let's go in order here. So the skinheads.
Yeah, the skinheads.
That called you out of their name. So what happened? Did they get expelled or taken out?
Yeah, they did. And we ended up, my guidance counselor and the principal, we ended up starting a coalition. This was my first time ever understanding what coalition, but those that were athletes, jocks, cheerleaders, you know, from every demographic within that school, and we came together at least weekly to have a better understanding of one another. And then I ended up being on the Today Show. It was called Black, White, and Angry. It was a week-long series on race relations in America, and so they followed me for a week. So I've been doing this for a minute now.
So I would imagine somebody who does something that traumatizing to you in high school. I don't know if you like me, but I have the memory of an elephant. I remember everything.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever looked these people up online?
I was trying to the other day because I was retelling this story, and I was like, I don't know where they at. You know, I mean, I don't know where they at, you know?
You know, because, like, sometimes we think back, you know, like you were definitely the victim of a bad situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you want to check in on people, see if they're the same person that they were back then. Because I know I've done things to people, you know, when I was in school that's like, yo, that person even deserved that. Like, let me try to track this person down and just check in and you know and try to apologize directly. So I wonder if they're in that same headspace.
Well,
because like people need time to grow.
Yeah, if they are, I mean, I went to Deer Valley High School, so if you were a skinhead or a KKK at Deer Valley High School, I'm class of '96. You know, hit me up. I want to know exactly what you're doing.
Word.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, you know, like you're never the same person who you were. Not even 5 years ago sometimes. Like, you know, your ideologies change, your worldview changes, and hopefully whatever happened then was the catalyst that, you know, gave them a better understanding in dealing with people.
Because you know, and it's so crazy, because during that time when we was getting all of the different students together, there was a change, some aha moments that was happening during that time, you know? Yeah. And I know the guidance counselor, she passed away, so may God be pleased with her, you know, but she was the only Mexican employee there at the time.
Really?
You know, and so she really believed in getting us all together, you know, and I think that's really what it boils down to, is having a better understanding of
most
one another.
People, like, you know, it stems from fear.
Yeah.
Fear comes from not understanding.
Ignorance,
And ignorance, you know.
Yeah.
And I think once people understand certain people, we'd be in such a better space. You know?
And you know, it's tomorrow for Copwatch America. It airs every Wednesday at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And so one of the episodes is we had a sit down with cops and clippers. It's a police officer. He actually gets police together with the community. And I had one of those. So it was one of those things, let's have a better understanding. But I end up leaving. I was so upset.
Right? Why? What happened?
Because so the officer, he said, why is it that you all make these people like they're saints? And that triggered me. I had 4 cousins that were murdered by police. 8 of my friends have been murdered by police. 2 of them have been their children. And so I'm like, Mike Brown was a saint. Trayvon Martin was a saint. How dare you? That's someone's child or uncle or sister, you know? I said, we have to shut down your police stations in order for us to even get a name of the officer, let alone a police report or a disciplinary report. We don't get none of that,
Right.
you know? So I stormed out of there. I was so livid. So there's certain situations where I have a shirt that's on my website, queenyonasda.com. It says, I ain't going back and forth with anyone that Harriet Tubman would have shot. If my freedom don't look like your freedom, then we're
not on the same level.
We're not on the same level. You want to, I'm just, so in certain situations, I'm really good on sitting down and trying to have a better understanding. But if your ignorance is so far off, I just can't, I don't have the energy.
And there's so many different psychology archetypes that play into what makes people become members of law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You have some people that maybe saw a wrong done and they want to be this, crusader for street justice that gets all the bad guys off the street.
Yeah.
Maybe you had something bad happen to you directly to where like you kind of stereotype certain people and classes of people as being a certain way.
Yeah.
Some people have been picked on, bullied. Some people get beat up by their spouses when they get home and they take it out, and like I don't think there's a test that can be issued that can make the perfect personality profile to create the perfect cop, because we're all people and we're all flawed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when you look at the standpoint, have you seen the movie Black and Blue?
Not yet. I want to.
It's a really good movie.
It is?
Naomi
Okay.
Harris, Tyrese did a great, and like from the standpoint of, hey, there are good cops and there are bad cops.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think when you say anything against the police that you come off anti-cop, and that's not what this is all about.
Yeah.
This is all about, Copwatch America is about showcasing
the other side.
And how we can protect ourselves as citizens.
And then how to hold these bad apples. There's bad apples in a bunch, how to hold them accountable. And I have family members and friends that are also police officers, and they're like, I hope that this series is not all about, you all going in at the police and, and I'm like, no, we're going in on police that are using their power and abusing it, and they are trained they're supposed to be trained to protect and serve. But recently what we're seeing is they are being trained to shoot to kill. A lot of them are being trained and from people that was in Afghanistan, or some of them are former military, where they're trained to shoot and kill.
Right.
Not to protect and serve us. And they're walking these streets. We saw it in Ferguson. We saw it in Standing Rock. I was in Ferguson. I was in Standing Rock. I was in Baltimore. So I seen, and a lot of them are young people. And they look like they're ready. They're trigger happy. They, this is a generation that's like been playing Call of Duty.
And then also too, no matter how much training you have, you're shooting at stationary targets when you go to target practice.
Yeah.
When you get put in a life and death situation, at the end of the day, it boils down to you're a human being. You'll react out of fear and possibly shoot when maybe you should have engaged in conversation a little bit further. I don't know how we can train people better to not walk into situations like they're going to die every time they have a conversation with someone who seems like a threat.
Right. When I was in Arizona, we changed one of their training things. And in their training videos of them shooting people were Black and brown people. They were already having them to think that all Black and brown people are criminals.
Yeah.
So in their training videos was Black and brown people. And then another thing too was when you go to a shooting gun range or whatever, it's the head, and it's the upper torso. And everyone is being shot in their head and the upper torso. So when we had the meeting with Cops and Clippers, we was like, you could shoot them in the leg. You could shoot, you don't have to shoot them in their head.
Yeah, as a person who's gone to a range a few times, a body is a wider target to hit versus it's hard to hit a moving leg.
Yeah.
It is hard to hit a moving leg.
Okay. So what?
But I do understand.
A headshot, a kill shot.
A headshot's very extreme. But like a lot of times when they do the headshots, it's up close range.
It is.
Which they're in a situation where you could have destabilized the target by taking out the arm and taking out the leg. But I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I think their sharpshoot, their shooting acumen needs to be a little bit better. You need to be trained a little bit better how to incapacitate Not decapitate,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
and you have so many other. You have the electric, the gun, the steam
Taser.
gun, the taser. You know what I'm saying? You have so many other things, and what they're doing is just they're like, and they're unarmed. A lot of these situations, I'm talking about those that are unarmed.
Right.
You know, like Oscar Kane. He
There's
was an
no excuse
activist
for
with
those.
us in Atlanta, and they murdered him in April, and they shot him in his back, and he was unarmed.
Now,
you know?
are they still on trial, the officers?
We are about to go into that with Oscar Kane. We're waiting right now for the GBI to give us a word, you know, to pursue that, for the family to pursue that case with Oscar Kane. We have Jamarian Robinson, who was shot 76 times here in Georgia. There has been 76 police-involved killings since January here in Atlanta, and there's over 100 in greater Atlanta.
And it's happening at such a
Georgia.
frequency, you don't even get to hear about all of it.
No, and that's the reason why for this show. We have been amplifying, and that's, for me, a lot of people ask me, why did you want to do the show? And, you know, especially where I come from, a community and a nation and a movement and revolutionaries where, you know, it will not be televised. But I was like, you know what? These families that never got a hashtag, these families that never got their story to be told, I want to be able use me to be able to help these families to get justice.
Well, yo, you're doing dynamic things out
Thank
there.
you.
And in addition to this, I mean, like your activism, you know, on the Native American front as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's a whole long dialogue that we got to definitely unpack at another time. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you come from legendary lineage, amazing blood, amazing work ethic,
Thank you.
and you always have
Thank
a
you.
place to come and kick your narrative here.
Thank you. And I
So-
want to say this too. When I was able to get the cameras to come to Pine Ridge, South Dakota, to my reservation, 4 of my cousins that were murdered was in Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and Native Americans are murdered at a higher rate than any other race. So I when I'm saying Black Lives Matter, I'm screaming Native Lives Matter. My mother was full-blood Native American, Oglala Lakota, from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. My dad is Black from Brooklyn, and I wanted everyone to know me, but also to know the 2 nations that I represent and who I am, and for people to know these stories. You know, so I really hope they don't edit that out. You know, I'm not in charge of editing, but I really hope that they do show the talking circle that I had here with Yusuf Salam from Central Park 5 and other activists here locally in Atlanta. And then as well as when I took them to Pine Ridge Reservation with the Ferguson activists, you know. So it's some very touching moments. And so far we've been trending every Wednesday.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Copwatch America.
We're going to keep banging the drum and make sure people know that it's popping.
Thank you.
Copwatch America, BET, Wednesday nights. What time?
11 p.m. Eastern.
Pull up on that, man. Look for the hashtag Copwatch America. And check out the clips you may have missed on YouTube as well. Queen Yonasda, y'all. Head Krack After Hours. You know the rules.